Welcome to the Hebron Global Transformation Initiative. We believe that you can succeed in a rapidly changing world. Join the community of men and women who are striving to be transformed leaders of healthy families, spiritually empowered and financially free. Don't you want to be part of us? Please go on and listen to the message.
Dear viewers, we welcome you once again on our program, YouTube channel, Hebron Global Transformation Initiative, channel that has been presenting to you a couple of topical discussions that which include spiritual inspirations, the financial freedom principles and experiences we shared. Some of the experiences that we have undergone throughout our lives, and we will also continue to share different topics again in parenting and leadership transformation. Today we have another interesting topic to discuss with you and to share the insights that we believe nobody is going to remain the same. So this morning we have a topic which says that understand God's purpose for your life. This is the topic that we are going to discuss. Understanding God's purpose is the fundamental reason of why you have been created in God's image. The whys of our lives is going to be discussed on this discussion today. We are grateful to continue to share the insights, and we thank you for the comments that you always share with us, and we thank you for the likes, and we thank you for the feedback that you have been receiving. And today, very deep into our topic discussion today. Understand God's purpose is a God-given inspiration. Everybody who is created in God's image is being placed within his life or her life a purpose, and this purpose must be identified, must be discovered, must be understood, so that a person does not work in accordance with his own will or his own actions and his own understanding and feelings, but he has to connect to the source of his life, and this is God's guidance. So we are going to read from the book of Proverbs chapter 19 from verses 21, and it says, "Many are the plans in man's heart, but it is God's purpose that prevails." Many are the plans of a man in his heart, but it is God's purpose that will always prevail. This is the message that we want to share today, and it has been so life-changing. It has been transformational in our lives. Purpose is the God's given. It is an inspiration. It is a divine inspiration that is placed in a person's life, so that you discover and understand why he's been created. So purpose is far greater than the plan. In this scripture, there are two statements which have been indicated, which have been mentioned. There is a plan and there is a purpose. As in ordinary life circumstances, plans are maybe short term, maybe medium term, and maybe long term. But again, these plans have their respective goals and actions and even milestones which must be achieved. And these plans, in most cases, can be changed, they can be flexible, they can be adjusted. So those are the features, some of the silent features of a plan. But purpose can be very inspiring. Purpose is a God-given inspiration. It is God's given reason of us being in existence. It can never be altered, can never be changed by any human efforts, but it can be delayed. You may be delayed. It can be delayed given the fact that maybe most of the human beings may not discover why they have been created with a purpose. The reasons why it may delay, it is entirely dependent on how often discover that God has placed a purpose in our lives. So it is for our own making. Otherwise, God's purpose will never ever fail or altered or somehow abandoned. So God's purpose will always prevail, as the Bible says. And this purpose is just to God made a broad statement. First of all, we are going to read from the book of Genesis, from chapter 1, verses 26 through 28. And then we'll see when God created us in his own image, and what did he wanted us to do. So he created us to do a great contribution on this planet, and this is what we're going to be sharing to you today in our discussion. Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 through 28 says, "And God said, Let us make a man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created man in his own image, and the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. This is the purpose for every kind of a human being that has been created since the creation of man in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, from verse 26 through 28. There are a couple of statements God said in these scriptures. He said, Let us create a man in our own image and in our likeness. Let me first expound on this. Being created in God's image entails a lot of observations and understanding. God's image is not this physical image each one of us have. God's image is his character. God's image is his nature. God's image is his spirit. God's image is his eternal reigning. God's image is his plan. Even when we sinned, I think from Genesis chapter 4 going forward, when Adam and Eve began to sin in the Garden of Eden, God again did not leave us or forsake us. He continued to come and rescued us from the total destruction, total death, and sent his son, and that was redemption plan. He redeemed us. So God's purpose is, God's image entails redemption, the fall of redemption after the fall of man. So these statements, God's likeness is our likeness in his image, in terms of his spirit, in terms of his nature, in terms of his origin, and in terms of his character. This is the image that you have in God's presence. So God is a spirit, and those who worship him, you always worship him in the truth and in the spirit. When he created us in his own image and has given us all these commandments that we will ever maximize and use in this world that we are in, he said, be fruitful. The first statement that God said is be fruitful. I want to expound on this statement, that fruitfulness, it has been understood by many, I think, ever since creation, ever since God created the earth and heavens. The fruitfulness was an aspect of biological reproduction, producing many children, as many as possible. But I want to tell you that this is not only reproduction of children. Fruitfulness is a lifestyle that every human being must be willing to live with, and must be able to use it free, and then bring the world in different order that each and every human being needs. Fruitfulness is when has been placed in our lives, in all aspects of our lives. Your gifts, your talents, your experiences and skills, your understanding, your resources, your presence is a symbol of fruitfulness. So we have been created in God's image, and we have given this mandate to be fruitful. Fruitfulness is, think about yourself as a professional teacher who has been placed in an environment where you have to impart and deliver and support and give confidence and even provide knowledge to those children that have been placed into your hands. So you are required, you are mandated to be fruitful in this area, this perspective. Remember that God has placed into your life the skills, the understanding. You went at the school and you studied and mastered all those concepts. I think professional concepts that you have accumulated and achieved in your life, and you are mental. You are supposed to deliver them and share them in the hands of those who need them. And you do it not by the fact that you earn a living, but you do it with a passion, with the purpose behind your conscience that you have been placed on this planet to be a resourceful person. You have to be fruitful in this perspective, and you are placed there to be just a blessing, to be a blessing to millions of generations who are with you now today and even in the future. Fruitfulness, I want to extend it to different professions in this world. If you're a business person and you're doing business, remember that fruitfulness is also in your lifestyle. It should be reflected in your lifestyle. It should be reflected in your business. Make sure that you train yourself to be honest. Be honest and give what Caesar, that which belongs to Caesar, and give God that what belongs to God. Don't be in your business, be a person of honest character. Be a person who is gifted and professional in the field you are doing. Try to understand that there is a great contribution that you need to deliver in this planet at your time, during your time. So fruitfulness is also extended to those who are in the medical profession. For example, if you're doing medical service and they have been trained in that field, you have the skills, you have the experience, you have the contribution that you can make. Don't make sure that you do not do them in your own, for the sake of your own interest and earnings. Make sure that what you're doing, you are becoming fruitful, because this is a command, this is an assignment that has been given from God, your creator, that you have to be fruitful and be able, committed to contribute to the people around your place, around your location where you are. Make sure that you are committed to change the world around you. Fruitfulness can also be extended to someone who is working the bank. You are not there just for the sake of employment. You have been placed there in such a time as this so that you are committed to be fruitful. Fruitfulness will be for you to handle all the documentation, all the requests, all the desires of people which have been placed into your hands and into your direction and control, that they fulfill all the terms and conditions so that they can receive a service. Don't be a person who is self-centered. Don't be a person who cannot release any kind of approval without any kind of kickback or any kind of interest that you have to get from this. And we have had all such cases happening in our world today, in different economies, in different countries. People are almost acting against the principle of fruitfulness, of which God had created them to deliver. Fruitfulness extends also to a person who is in the security service organs. You are there, you have the authority and mandate and the power that have been impressed into your hands, into your life by the government, and you are there to serve people and protect them and give them confidence and comfort. And this principle of fruitfulness extends to your life, and so that you may be able to become a very wonderful person, a very contributing person, a person who can give confidence and protection to the people around you. So you are there to be fruitful. This also extends to a person who works in tax administration offices, in other offices in different countries, in different economies. This principle of fruitfulness, it comes to you to be there, to be a very exemplary person, be a role model in whichever you're doing. If you're doing a kind of supervisory services, do them with vigilance, with professionals, with understanding and wisdom, so that you give your best during your time. You have been placed there to give your best in this world, so that you may be able to change the planet around you. So fruitfulness is a very broad statement that extends to every humankind that has been created to be able to change the world around us. So this is the message that I extend to you this morning. You have seen different scandals and challenges that have happened in our world. I've seen economies crumbling in the hands of professional finance people, and we have seen companies collapsing in the hands of good managers and finance managers. We have seen people losing their lives in the hands of medical professionals. We have seen different challenges in our planet. We have seen people using their God-given skills and techniques and discoveries to, instead of creating value and even being fruitfulness, and use them. We have seen hackers hacking money, billions of money from bank accounts of different individuals and even bank accounts, and instead of using these God-given skills and change the world around them. Instead, they are using them to destroy and the systems and even destroy value instead of creating value. So they are acting contrary against the principle, the mandate God has placed in our lives of being fruitful. Of fruitfulness extends to those who are in justice systems in the world. These justice systems have done great contribution. Those who have understood the principle of being fruitfulness, they have been so resourceful and contributing to their time, to their world. They have contributed immensely to the lives of people. But the others who have not acted upon this principle of fruitfulness, and they have acted upon and their own interests, and they have been concluding cases which are not meant to be concluded. They have been putting people to jail, which they are not meant to be put in jail. And these people, they are acting completely contrary to the principle, God's command of being fruitfulness. So this is the message that maybe most of us have not been understanding. So, but now this is the message, this is the command. God will come before him at the time of judgment, at the time of each and everybody being presented on God's face, shall have to give an account of what you have done, the best interest that you have done, the best projects that you have delivered, the best contribution that you have made during our time, the best kind of revelation that we shared and insights, the best kind of teachings and the kinds of inspiration that you must have delivered. All these ones will be tested and be rewarded for their respective contributions. But again, there will be serious judgment on what went wrong, where you used the skills and the gifts and talents and all sorts of specialties God placed into your hands. And then the time of hour, God will ask us, this principle, this command of fruitfulness, if we ever used them in his own purpose and in his own plan. So the principle of fruitfulness is a great revelation. If you will ever understand it, you are not going to remain the same. You're going to work towards its request, and you're going to work to become a resourceful person. You're going to make sure that the time you have you shall never live wrong, we shall never live wrong completely. Many years, 1,000 years, but you live for a certain given amount of time, and this amount of time will be for you to be fruitful and deliver in accordance with your purpose. So we will continue to another command which God said, multiply, and this is another aspect of multiplication that have been placed in our lives. So you have a lot of things to share. You have a lot of contribution to give to the world around you. You have a lot of knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding. You have a lot of resources. You have a lot of time. The resources you have includes time. It includes the knowledge and wisdom. It includes the kind of skills and experiences that you have received. It includes the kinds of the business activities you're doing. It includes the amount of service delivery you are delivering. You have been placed on this planet to be a person who can multiply things, who can make things happen, a person who can give confidence to others, a person who can write books, think about yourself as an author of books, think about yourself as an inventor of systems, think about yourself as a person who can discover unknowns. All this, when you have given this, have received this kind of revelations, understanding, and when you have started working on something, make sure that they are not contained within your own life. Make sure that you multiply them. We have seen greatest companies which have been created and which have understood this principle of multiplication. When we see Apple company that is dealing with telecommunication technology, the internet, the computers, and all sorts of electronic systems, we have seen the billions of products and software that they have created. They are in the principle of multiplication. We have seen the Samsung company, which is now handling the mobile phone and computer tablets and sorts of technologies that have emerged in their country. They have understood this kind of principle of multiplication. We have seen the World Bank branches being placed in different economies of the world. So, and this they have understood. We have seen NGOs that have been created, which have been made global, and these ones are acting in fulfillment of God's principle or command of multiplication. And this is the message that we deliver to you. Whichever you're doing, make sure that it is not meant to be for your own glory. It is not being meant to be your own supremacy. It has not been created for you to be a different person. It is being placed into your lives, into your hands, to be able to multiply it. So multiplication is another God's grace, another God's gift, another God's contribution. It is another God's revelations. It is another God's mandate that has been placed into your life to be able to share to the world, to the entire world, fruitfulness and multiplication, the great revelations, if we ever understood what they mean. And then you begin to work towards maximizing them. It is your time, it is your chance, it is your revelation today. So as much as you have understood what they mean, and you have understood what you can do with them, make a step of faith, make a step of faith and do something out of it. So we will continue to another statement again from the scriptures that I've read from the Genesis chapter 1, 26 through 28. Another statement is a statement of replenishment. God said, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish. This is another revelation that if you understand it, you're going to make a difference. Replenishment is going to signify what you can do if you might have not been able to master all these, the first ones, the fruitfulness and multiplication. You might have lived a life of self-centeredness. You might have lived a life of passiveness. You might have lived a life of being unproductive. You might have lived a life of destroying value instead of creating it. You might have messed up your life, for example, in drugs and drug addictions, all sorts of iniquities and evil actions. So this the principle of replenishment implies that you are called again. You are called again to reconnect to where you lost your roots. It implies reconnection. It implies restoring the lost commitments, the lost revelation, the lost God's will, power on your life. So if you might have messed up and you're willing again to regain, gain your sanity and regain your confidence and your efforts, and come back to be fruitful again and to multiply. So replenishment is another aspect that calls you to reconnect again from the lost roots so that you have had before, even when you hadn't started some time back. But this principle of replenishment calls you to begin to be a different person, to come upon, to renew your mind and refresh your thoughts again and again, and to rediscover another idea, another revelations and insights in your life, so that you come again back to your senses and then begin to work upon your purpose and deliver as long as you can be able to do something. Replenishment is another aspect. Even if you are at the age of 50 now, or 55 or approaching 60, it is not too late. You can again rebound back. You can again connect back to your roots. You can also discover the purpose for which God created you to deliver. This is another aspect, another chance that you cannot miss. Don't tell yourself that it is already done. As long as you can still breathe, as long as you can lift up your conscience and your thoughts, you have great contribution in your spirit. You have amount of significant in your memories and even in your conscience. You have a lot to share to the world and change the world around you. So replenish your soul, to regain your sanity, regain your contribution, regain your freshness, regain your insights again, read books again, rewrite books that you have almost dropped and gone out. This the principle replenishment is another aspect that calls upon each and every one of us again to reconnect back to where we lost our sense of belonging and sense of direction. So replenishment is another aspect that comes into your life and calls upon you to take a step of faith and do something greater than even. So if you might have failed some time back on different grounds and on many trials, and now this is the time for you to again to regain and to reconnect and to refresh your ideas and to regain your energy and to renew your mind and work towards that thing, that ambition, that the kind of revelation God placed into your heart, that kind of vision that you dropped, those books that you are meant to have written, the discoveries and inventions that you have put on hold, even the spirit of fear that has again almost press you down and cause you an inferiority complex that you cannot make anything. You wouldn't amount to any kind of contribution. Just replenish yourself, just refresh your mind again, and move forward and do some great exploits. You have a lot to share to the world. You are not placed on this planet for nothing. I want to come to attention and be able to reveal some of the contribution a human being has in his own life. Remember that the studies have indicated that an average person can possess from 500 to 700 skills in his own life, lifetime. All these skills are meant to be multiplied. They are meant to be fruitful. They are meant to be used. They are meant to deliver, to contribute to the generation you are in. So these skills are too many for each and every person. So if an average person can possess all these 500 to 700 skills, it is too much for you. You don't think that you are a failure. Don't think that you can't amount to anything. Don't think you can't give the world the best God has placed into your life. So it goes on to say that again, our memory, our conscience can store up to 100 trillion facts. Imagine 100 trillion facts can be stored into your brain function. Again, the studies have also again indicated that an average person can make up to 15,000 decisions within a span of a minute. Imagine this kind of capability that a human being has. This is too much for you. This is too much for me. The smell of an average person can detect up to 10,000 different odors, different smells. Your sense of smell has this kind of capabilities. These are capabilities that have been placed in our lives. Imagine, it has been discovered by scientists that your sense of smell can detect up to 10,000 different odors. And this is another capability that you cannot just take for granted. So God has placed a lot of treasures, a lot of greatness in your life. It has also been proven that an average person can his sense of sensory nerve. It has been also proven that your sensory nerve, any average human being can take up to any kind of metal in around 100 trillion tons cubic meters of grain of sand. Whenever there is a metal and you place your hands or your foot or any other part of your life, you can be able to detect it in those trillion cubic meters of sand. And this is another great complex information of a human being. This is a revelation that if you understand the powers that contribute, the greatness God has placed in your life, you never even give a chance to yourself. So I want to tell you that you're special, you are unique, you are distinguished. You are just a person who has never been lived on this planet. You are there to make a difference. You are there to change the world around you. You have been created to give the best the world needs. And remember, it will be done by a person like you. It will be delivered by somebody like you. It will be delivered by a person who has understood all this God's message that has given us. Fruitfulness, multiplication, and replenishment. Let's go again to another statement. God said, and subdue it. Subdue it again is another aspect God pressed into our lives. When at the time of creation of human being, subdue the world is just to give it the best. Give it the best, give it the control, the best control you can ever give. Protect the planet that we are placed on. Protect the human lives that are there. Protect the natural resources that God has placed into our heart. Don't deplete them. Don't waste them. Don't extract everything that God has placed here. They are meant to serve us and even to serve the next generation that will come. So this is another aspect God said, subdue the world. So we understand that there are challenges that we face on our world today. These challenges are there to act as a springboard for us to move to a higher altitude and then make a difference in lives. So challenges are Let's take them as a teacher, to teach us where went wrong, where we might have not done the right things, and then we draw the experiences that we need from the challenges we have, and then we move forward to make sure that you give the best, the adequate control around yourself, control your life, control your children, control them, give them the best, understand their needs and desires, be able to be a resourceful person. Don't give yourself a bad chance that you cannot support the world, you cannot support the human race, you cannot support the resources that you have on this planet. Subdue is another aspect that God placed into our lives. We need to protect the planet, the waters, the fish in the water, the mineral resources that have been placed beneath the water, the underground. We need to give the best that we can give the world the best, so that the future generations, when they will come, they will not find the world that God has placed into our world has been depleted, and there would be nothing for them to take care of them. The best contribution you can give now is preserve them, maximize them with an attitude, spirit that tomorrow is also needed, tomorrow is also important, tomorrow is also another chance for those who would be there to live and maximize resources, the treasures God has placed in our hands and placed on this planet. So the last statement that we have seen here is a statement. God said, have dominion. Dominion is nothing but rulership and governance. Yes, we talked about control. Now control again will feed into governance and rulership. Then the world will be the best. Planet, everybody, every individual is in position to live on. God chose among the planets God has created that have been known by human being. He chose us to be on this planet of the earth. And this planet called us must be governed, well governed, must be given the best from the human lives that have been placed on this world. So we have been given control. We have been given the governance systems that govern us in our day-to-day operations and lives. So this is again another. So anything that goes contrary to that must be detested, must be fight against, must not be welcomed, and it must be given the right orientation. So the governance, the rulership is about things and the source God has placed us again, and even the source God placed on this planet includes human beings. So we are there as human beings, and we are there as God's resource. So we are meant to have dominion, all that God has placed into our lives. These 5 purposes, if you understand them, if you master them, if you committed to make a difference through them, if you ever discover the reasons why God placed into you on this planet, you live into this planet, you understand that these 5 principles, these 5 statements God said in the Bible, it is your assignment, it is your work, it is your mandate, it is something that you have to work on and deliver. So whoever has been having a difficulty to understand and discover God's purpose on his life, so if you read these 5 statements God said, then you understand exactly where your life must be placed. You need to be fruitful. You need to multiply all those resources God has given, placed into you, your control and within your limits. Then you will have to replenish them, even when you might have messed up, maybe even when you might have disconnected your life to those core responsibilities God placed into our lives. Again, you are required to reconnect. You are required to restore again the lost relationship between your Maker and even the brothers and sisters that whom you are surrounded with. So you have to reconnect, you have to refresh, you have to restore again, and then continue to serve God's purpose in which He placed it into your life, and to be able to be a source to the planet you are in. Then thereafter, then you make sure that you subdue it, and then you control all these that God has placed into your life. Your life is so precious enough that it needs control, it needs care, it needs protection, it needs to be nurtured to the extent that you continue to be a resource, not a waste. So then the last one is to have dominion, to make sure that all these, when you have multiplied, when you have been fruitful, when you have replenished, when you have subdued, when you have done all this one, then you need to take the overall leadership and the governance and leadership of those resources that God placed into your life. Make a substantial contribution and you become a person of significance in the time you are in, and then God will welcome you in his sanctuary in heaven, and then he'll say to you, faith, well done, faithful servant. You became entrusted towards a person, even the very tribe placed into your hands, but now you have been so great enough and receive the reward that have been prepared for you and have such kind of eternal life. So this is the message, this is the inspiration, this is the kind of sharing that we have been preeping in my heart, and then I found it very important and substantial to be shared to the rest of the world, so that they will come back to the source, their purpose for which God created them. So thank you for hearing us, and thank you for being listening to this message. I believe you're not going to be the same. You're going to make a difference in your life. You're going to have a contribution. You're going to be a person of value, and you're going to be a person that can make a difference in our time. May God bless you. May God bless every human being who will come across this message and be able to act up in accordance with its guidance and its will. Then you will be a special person in your time, and you change your own life, and you change the world around you. God bless you, and see you again in the next couple of discussions that we'll make. Thank you. Bye.